So, ladies and gentlemen, this interview is brought to you by Burn It Up Coaching and the 21-Day Challenge. So, if you are an entrepreneur or high achiever, yet you feel vaguely dissatisfied, you have hit a plateau, you feel stuck, you're not quite getting to where you want to be, then the 21-Day Challenge could be the supercharged burst of inspiration, of intensity, of accountability and support that you have been looking for and hungry for. Basically, we set a single target, and over the course of 21 days, you will single-mindedly focus on that target and achieve that target. So that looks like daily accountability and check-ins. That looks like weekly deep dives into your subconscious and limiting beliefs that are keeping you stopped or stuck. It looks like dialing in your daily habits for success. It looks like learning how to track your metrics and be more successful with that, and a lot of other things. And really, it's your program. It's your 21-Day Challenge. So if you're interested in that, send me a message, get in contact with me, and you can ask me about the 21-Day Challenge and how you can achieve your next biggest goal in 21 days. Thank you. Looking forward to working with you if it's a good fit. I'm not a good fit for everyone, but if it's a fit with you, look forward to make it happen. Now, the iTunes review of the week is by Yogi Boo. And Yogi Boo says, genuine and transformational. Chris has a gift for asking the right questions and a style that motivates and makes me feel great. He is living into his work and sharing it in a meaningful way that will inspire you to take big leaps. I highly recommend it. So Yogi Boo, thank you so much for leaving us that review. And if you want to leave us a review, go to beyourgps.com/iTunes, or you can search Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self on iTunes or on Facebook as well and leave us a review there. We appreciate those, and I read all of them, and thank you so much in advance for doing that. Now, for the Woman of the Hour, Miss Linda Ugelow. Linda is a speaker and a transformational speaking coach for visionary women and men who want to make a positive impact in the world. As a performer of 35 years with a master's degree in expressive therapies and movement studies, she's been helping people get comfortable in their skin for decades. She'll help you clear the nerves and visibility blocks so that you'll feel free to share your message with your unique style and brilliance. And we are in for an absolute treat today, ladies and gentlemen. Linda, are you ready to rock for this? Awesome. You are now live on Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self. Thank you so much for coming on today to share with our audience the wisdom and the information, transformation, everything you've experienced around rocking the stage and rocking cameras. We appreciate you being here.
Well, it's great to join in with your amazing energy.
Thank you. I love being energized and carrying the entire 12-hour marathon with my energy. It's lots of fun. So, Linda, let's dive into the theme of the day, which is 0 to 60 real fast. And seeing as how this is marathon number 60, and it's been a year and a half since we've started the first 12-hour marathon, for me, it felt like it went really, really fast. And so I wanted to celebrate that and say, thank you to our audience, to the guests who tune in by focusing on how do we go fast? What does that mean to go from 0 to 60, to go from stuck or stopped or not really having clarity to a place of progress, a place of empowerment? How has that made a difference for you, this concept of going from stuck to succeeding and thriving?
It's a real irony in some ways, I think. Like when you feel like you're not going fast enough, you sometimes slow down and appreciate every little step you're taking. Because I feel like if you disregard all the progress that you do make, then it's going to prevent you from making further progress. So I think it's really important to like tease away. Like, it's great to have a goal, great to have a vision, but if you are in that place of uncertainty, I think you have to honor it. You have to honor your process and trust. The more you trust, the more you can relax into what is, the clearer your path will become. So, for instance, I remember several years ago, before I settled on this particular niche of helping people overcome the fear of speaking on camera or in front of a crowd, I wasn't sure. This was kind of one of the possibilities, but I just wasn't sure. And I struggled with it. I just like every day I was like, what is it that I want to do? What is it that I want to do? And the more I kind of held on to that stress and anxiety, the further away the resolution came. And the more once I said to myself, you know what, if this is the kind of the murkiness or the chaos I need to be in, maybe there's a beauty in that. Maybe there is some design that's involved with being in that process of the chaos, the unknown, that from which creativity pops out. And once I gave myself or surrendered myself to the process, I felt like it came very quickly.
Wow, that's beautiful. And first off, I want to comment that you have a very soothing voice. So whether you did video, teaching people how to be on video or on stage, or you were, some kind of broadcaster, in a big way like that, either way, you're doing great. You're doing awesome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, my vocal coach would be really happy to hear that, because I used to have a speech impediment as a child.
Wow.
I had taught how to swallow. My tongue did not operate correctly. Wow. And I've taken probably 35 years of vocal coaching.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy moly. Very cool.
Yeah,
very cool.
yeah.
So I'm sure we're going to dive into all kinds of amazing stuff about your life. And I want to give our audience a little bit more of an overview about who you are and what you do today. Tell us more about the transformational speaking I mentioned in the intro.
Yes. So a lot of speaking coaches focus on the content, on the delivery, the business. I focus on the experience, because I feel like if you're not enjoying it, if you're feeling stress or dread or fear, that's going to impact so many things. It impacts, first of all, your motivation to do it in the first place, your ability of what you think you're capable of. As you speak, it will impact your ability to think clearly, because when you're fearful or stressed, it pulls the blood out of your brain and you're not as clear in your thinking, and you can't express yourself the way you want to express yourself, and you're not connecting with your material, with yourself, with the audience in the way that you would be if you weren't managing the stress. So that's what distinguishes me from a lot of other speaking coaches. That's why I call myself a transformational speaking coach, because I want to transform your experience of it. Now, that being said, I work with both people who are terrorized to be in front of the camera or on stage, and it's not always the same thing for a person. Or I also work with seasoned speakers who may be paid a lot of money, who may look great on stage and make huge impact, but in the morning of that talk, they think, oh my God, why did I sign up for this? So inside, they're suffering. Maybe not to a huge degree, or sometimes to a huge degree. You'd be surprised how many people take beta blockers. Many celebrities, performers have fear of performing. That, like Barbara Streisand was writing about it this year, how she's never felt free just to enjoy singing in front of an audience. Wow. She's always terrified. And of course, she's well practiced. It's not about practice. Practice will make you a good performer, just like she's an amazing performer, but it's not a panacea for fear.
Wow. So powerful. I love this, because, we have a lot of influencers and entrepreneurs and visionaries who are committed to getting their message out. And these subtle distinctions about what is happening within us when we're taking those bold actions, when we're, even if it's like jumping on a sales call, like this information that we're talking about is still, we're still getting to some of those fundamentals of why we are uncomfortable and how to manage that. And if you're managing your stress, your anxiety while you're on a sales call, then that's going to come up with the prospect or the potential buyer, because they're going to feel that negative energy. So I just wanted to correlate that for anyone who's listening, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you are speaking on stages or are not, whatever it is, you have the opportunity to get a lot out of this interview with Linda. So I'm super grateful to have you here, Linda. Let's dive back into your journey a little bit more. So you mentioned some intense things, that you had to have speech therapy, that you've been having a vocal coach for this many years. Like, holy moly. So tell us about the journey and how you got to where we are today, and some of the wisdom and that you picked up, the challenges that you overcame. Tell us about that.
I was a dancer, and that's what I wanted to do all my life. And one of the reasons why I picked it was I didn't have to speak. I needed a way to express myself, but as a child, I would be hushed a lot, as many kids might be. And for me, it wasn't parents, it was actually my siblings. They were jealous of me, and they would, in their jealousy, and I was the little one, they would call me stupid, tell me to shut up. Sometimes they'd kick me or hold me down and tickle me, but not tickle me like in fun, but tickle me as in torture.
Right.
and so I grew up not feeling like it was safe to show myself or to really speak up or to sing out. If there was music playing, I loved to sing, but I didn't feel comfortable doing it in front of my family. And I became very introverted. And it even makes me wonder about our whole personality labeling of introvert and extrovert, because for me personally, I love spending time with myself, but it originated from my own space being my safe space. And that's where I felt I could really just relax. I couldn't relax in the family space. So I actually, even though I spent, 25 years teaching people how to be comfortable in their skin through dance and movement, I have a degree in expressive therapies, as you mentioned. I gave it up because I felt like I had no idea what I was doing in business. My idea of marketing, now this was before computers, was finding one more bulletin board to put up a flyer.
I love it.
And it just didn't cut it. I was scraping by. And finally, I dealt with so much professional jealousy. I had friends who were doing the same thing that I did. And every time I saw a flyer that was created by one of my friends, I burst into tears.
Wow.
Because it looked so beautiful. I thought, they're getting more clients than me, and a total scarcity mindset.
Wow.
And it felt painful. And I thought, you know what? I don't want to poison my love of dance or my love of teaching with these feelings. And I didn't know how to navigate them. So I quit.
Wow.
I quit. And I quit for 15 years.
Wow. And that was teaching it, or that was
in that
dancing?
time I married. Dance is kind of multifaceted for me. Right. So there's my own enjoyment of it, which I kept on with. And I also, as I mentioned, I'm a performer with a women's world music group, and I'm the principal dancer. So that's always been a vehicle that I never gave up.
Okay.
But my own kind of like teaching business, I did give up. I took these detours. I was homeschooling, which actually gave me a lot of confidence, because suddenly I was having to defend my choices against a lot of people who thought homeschooling was a crazy thing to do. And at first it was really challenging because I didn't know how to talk to people who had different views than myself. I didn't know how to stand in my own authority, but it taught me to own what I believed and allow other people to own what they believe. And that kind of detachment from trying to convince other people to be like me or to not be attached to other people trying to get me to be like them actually was very growthful for me. During that time, in my early motherhood, I got very involved with organic foods and traditional eating. And this is going to sound very odd, but the thing that got me to speak up was raw milk. I just learned about raw milk from reading about how the milk in our stores was processed milk. It wasn't real milk. And my husband is from Hungary, and he came from a place where they had real milk, that when you left it on the counter in a glass, it would curdle into like a yogurt. And that's what you gave the elderly, or if you were sick. Contrary to here, they'd say, never give it to anyone who's immune compromised. No, in Hungary, the curdled real milk was something that was medicinally given to people who were weak. And all of us, and when he came here, he said, I can't drink the milk here. It gives me a bellyache. And what's wrong with the milk? I pour it into a glass. I leave it overnight and it turns rotten. And I said, well, yeah, isn't that what it's supposed to do? And he said, no. So that kind of got me on this rampage. So I called up my local, well, not the local, the regional New England. I live in New England, Organic Farming Association. And I said, I'm this fanatic mom, I'm looking for raw milk and I can't find it because it's not legal in my state of Massachusetts. And the farmers have to do something about this. And the director said, you know what, Linda, that's great. I want you to come to the summer conference and before the keynote speaker, come up on stage and tell everybody about this. And my mouth just dropped open. I said, can you do that? And she said, no, Linda, you do it. I said, but the last time I tried to speak in grad school, my mouth got like a cotton ball and nothing came out. And she said, don't worry, just write out a sheet of paper, read it from the stage and you'll be fine. So I did what she told me. I was shaking like this beside the stage. It was 1,200 people. I got up there, I read my sheet of paper, and this young woman jumped up right after I came down and she said, my parents are conventional dairy farmers, but I have my own cow and I'm going to be the first dairy farmer in Massachusetts to legally sell raw milk. Wow. And we formed a little committee, and 2 years later, she was the first dairy farmer legally licensed in Massachusetts. Now we have 24 legally licensed dairies in the state of Massachusetts from that 90-minute speech that I made.
Holy moly.
That was empowering. And that convinced me that it's worth pushing through my fear to speak. But that's fine when you do it once in a while. In 2015, when I had gotten into organic farming, I was selling organic vegetables to upend restaurants. And one day I just thought, you know what? I love being a farmer. I'm an introvert. I spend a lot of time in the field by myself, but this isn't what I'm meant to do. I'm meant to make a bigger impact. And I came into the online space in 2015. That was about 2014. 2015, Periscope came out. Periscope was the first live streaming app.
Right.
And the people who were the earliest adopters said, you must broadcast every single day. So I thought, I'm going to do this. I'm going to push through my fear. So I got on the first day and I was terrified and I thought, I've got to delete this. And I said, no, don't delete it. Just leave it up. And I started to build a following. But after a week, I thought, wow, my heart is like racing every single time. And I asked a woman, Holly Gillen, who I'd taken some video courses with, are you afraid, every time you go on? She said, oh, Linda, everybody's afraid. When you do 100, you'll be fine. I thought 100. Okay, here I go.
Let's go.
So let's go. So every day I'm on, and every day I'm pushing over this hump.
Yeah.
Because every day my heart is racing and I'm doing jumping jacks. I'm reframing this as fuel and reframing it as excitement, not fear, and thinking it's serving my audience. It's not about me, and tricking my brain and meditating and all kinds of things. And every day I get on. But at day 75, I'm about to press broadcast and my heart is racing. I thought, you know what? Pushing through fear is fine for once in a while, but as a daily diet, it gets tiring. Wow. And isn't there anything I can do about it? I mean, I'm showing up, but I hate the way it feels. Wow. And that's when I thought, I'm going to, kind of like your 21-day challenge, I thought I'm going to pull out all the stops. What do I know? How can I deal with this? What can I do?
Right.
And because I have my expressive therapies background, I have performing, tons of self-help, I've done therapy, I've done all kinds of things. I did have a big tool basket. I just hadn't applied it yet. And when I did, it was really just a matter of days that my whole experience changed. And not only did I not have that racing heart, which I was really happy not to feel anymore, but I realized that I had more capacity to really get into this experience of connecting with the audience, with the people on the other side of the camera. And then I thought, well, I know what I did for me. And I know I had my stories that I had to work with. I know what you you know about stories, but maybe your audience hasn't read all of your materials
Right.
yet, Chris, about not pushing away the fear, but really diving into it. I felt like instead of trying to get rid of it, I thought, well, what is it even? What is it? What's going on? What is the fear trying to say to me? So becoming curious about it and investigating it. And that's when I realized I went back to that childhood experience of my sisters not wanting me to get the attention. And I realized it's risky to be the center of attention. It's risky to draw attention to myself. And if I shine too bright, my sisters aren't going to love me.
Wow.
And when I realized that and I checked in with myself, I thought, my God, I still feel that way. I had no idea. I've been friends with my sisters for decades. It wasn't in my conscious mind at all, but it's like an imprint in our bodies.
Wow.
These, all of these experiences that were hard for us at one time when we were young. We have to be really careful because it may not consciously feel like a block, but if on a physical level, it's getting triggered by being the center of attention, you have to ask yourself, what doesn't feel safe about being seen and heard? When did I start to hide? When did I feel like I had to hide? What has been said to me or what have I seen that told me that it's better to be quiet? Better not to draw attention to myself, or what's in the culture. My sister lives in Scandinavia, in Denmark, and there it's really looked down upon to shine out too brightly.
Wow.
They don't look upon that with a lot of encouragement. They want people to be more or less the same. So it's more difficult for someone like that to be a standout speaker or really like shine bright. It's not accepted. So it may not be your whole culture, but it may be part of your culture. It might be your family culture, your community culture. We don't do that kind of thing. Our family, nobody went to college, so why should you? We all did this. Why do you want to do that? You think you're better? You think there's something great about you? So it can be even that kind of fear of being rejected from your tribe.
Yeah. I think that's a big thing is like we want to shine, but we don't want to hurt the people around us. There's expectations that they have placed on us, and there's like a like taboo kind of culture, what is acceptable, what isn't acceptable. And a lot of people play small because that they believe that it will hurt the people around them, or they will be rejected, they will be outcast, they will be exiled. So
that's right. I desperately wanted my sisters to get more attention from my mother. I so wanted that. And even as a little girl, I was aware of that, but she wasn't doing it because they were bad.
Yeah.
They were fresh and she was punishing them all the time. And I was like the one she held up. Why can't you be like Linda? And I was going, no, don't say that.
Don't say that.
And privately, yes, but not in public.
Right. Okay. So you learned that, hey, if you're going through these challenges, these these self-belief challenges and having to look back in the past, then other people are going to be going through this too.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what I tested out, and I discovered it was relevant for so many people. And what I like about this program today is that there are ways over time to overcome these things. But I felt that when you are willing to really dive in, it's not therapy. It's not 12 years of, going around, what happened to me and all my feelings. It's identifying those things that may still have an imprint and clearing them away. So when you are willing to investigate, when you are willing to be curious, it's actually a fast track.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And
otherwise you have to build up the evidence slowly over time. Oh, I guess it's not so, maybe nothing happened to me that time. Nothing happened to me that time again. Well, after 6 times, okay, maybe nothing's going to happen to me.
Wow.
But it takes a long time for us to build up evidence that we're safe.
Right. And I was going to say about the curiosity, yeah, that's that childlike state. That's tapping into wonder. That's tapping into possibility, which allows us to create extraordinary results, which allows us to attract the opportunities and raise our frequency, raise our vibration to attract those things into our life. Without tapping into that energy, then we're going to be stuck in that doubting, disbelief kind of adult, quote unquote, mentality that has to logic through everything and make sure it's safe and make sure it's a wise decision, blah, blah, blah. But it takes away from the possibility. It takes away from the flow. It takes away from the trust that everything will work out that a lot of kids have. Kids exemplify these traits and just play and have fun. So I love that.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's almost like we're taking away the blocks that keep us from that original state of wonder. And I also love, Chris, what you just said about the state, because what I've discovered is that once you clear away the baggage that is distracting us, that creates that hump that we have to overcome each time that we are going on a sales call or pressing the broadcast button or pressing send on or publish on your blog or whatever it is.
Right.
Once you clear that away, you have this possibility of looking and investigating and building our capacity for those greater states of being, those states of expansion, those states of fun or excitement. Because fear and stress and anxiety, those are all kind of contracting in our bodies. Things like gratitude, love, connection, excitement, fun, those are expanding. So we can build that sense of what does it feel like? And we all know these places of what it feels like to be in a place of confidence or relaxation or excitement. We might not investigate it as well we could to be able to replicate it. But once you're not taken up in your mind with having to manage stress and anxiety, then you can put your mind to, well, what does it feel like to be relaxed? What does relaxation feel like in my body? Let me try it out. Or what does it feel like to be excited or have the sense of confidence or strength? And we all have those places in our daily lives, but we might not really notice it or pay much attention to it, but now you can.
Wow. I love it. Having more choices, more states of being, like we said, to choose. How do we want to show up? And when we're not being bogged down by stress and anxiety, then when we have that choice. And so it takes being curious, being in wonder about where did this come from? What's the lesson that I was meant to be taught through this? What have I still not yet worked through and that I'm still clearing? And then being able to tap into those greater states. So in terms of getting on camera, in front of the camera, in front of the stage, like we talked a little bit about, uncovering that psychology for how to get on successfully, how to be more successful with that. Let's start diving into that more specifically. Is there anything that we need to know about uncovering those beliefs or about preparing ourselves to get on camera or get on stage to be able to succeed?
I think it's useful to focus on one thing at a time. So it depends on your situation. It happens sometimes. I have a client who wanted to do some speaking, so she did the first step of going to the library, spoke in front of 15 people, and 3 weeks later, one of those people called her. She said, "I work at GE. We want you to come to GE and give a talk."
Oh my gosh!
And next week.
Wow.
So that's different than if you just have in your mind, oh, I'd like to become a speaker, or I'd like to, you know what I mean? And there's no timeline. So depending on what your timeline is, there may be a different process of what you need to go through. I think that if you are on a short timeline, the very best thing you can do is mental rehearsal or guided visualization. And what I mean by that is putting yourself in a state of relaxation. Some people call it self-hypnosis. Put yourself in a state of relaxation and intend in your mind how you want to feel, what it looks like, how you want the audience to respond, whether it's on camera or a live audience. How do you want to feel afterwards? What do you want to say to people afterwards? What are people saying to you? All those kinds of things are going to pave the neurobiology of your system. And, you know, regardless of your timeline, this is a really fantastic practice to do.
Yes.
But that will get you, I think that will really help you in the short term. However, if you really want to like remove the obstacles, I think the first thing to do is to simply sit down and contemplate, where did I start to hide in my life? What are those things in my life, from my parents, from my siblings, my friends, in school? And as early as you can remember is the best. Because everything that a lot of things, maybe not everything, I shouldn't speak in absolutes. A lot of times, something that feels particularly traumatic later in life has an earlier component.
Yeah.
For instance, I was working with somebody a few weeks ago, and she was speaking about how traumatic an experience was taking care of her mom with diabetes and having to communicate with her the bad news of having to have her toe amputated, and then her foot, and then her leg. And she felt so burdened by this and so traumatized. She felt like it impacted her ability to speak and communicate. And I said, that must have been hard to be alone, or were you alone? And she said, no, I have all these older brothers and sisters, but they have never helped out. And I went, tell me about that. And then she said, well, actually, when we were young, my older siblings would always go out to play, and I would see my mother suffering in the home, trying to get everything done. And I'd feel like I should stay home with her and help her out. And then I always missed out. Wow. And she's been carrying this like anger, and like she doesn't deserve to go out and have fun. She doesn't deserve to stand out. Wow. Because she must like hold down the line. She has to be the responsible one. And once we, she thought it was one thing, but we cleared the other. And once that was cleared, she said, I feel so much lighter now. Mm-hmm. and then say, go back to the earliest that you can remember. If you feel like somebody, and how many mean teachers, or how many people have experienced a mean teacher or a mean friend, or have been bullied, or maybe we bullied ourselves, even unintentionally. Mm-hmm. Like I have a client now who, when he was in first grade, he laughed at somebody who didn't know 1 + 1. He was 7 years old, right. But he was so harshly reprimanded that from that point on, he spoke with a soft voice. He never felt like he could laugh freely because he was going to get punished for laughing all his life.
Wow. That's crazy.
It's crazy. And that's from being the quote unquote, the perpetrator, the 7-year-old perpetrator.
Right.
He makes a mistake, but just how it was handled or not handled.
Right.
That was the decision that got made in his mind of what he had to do. This happened to me. I better do this. I better not laugh too loud. I better not, other people are going to be hurt if I am too loud. If I'm too smart, other people are going to be hurt.
I have a perfect correlation to this, and it just popped in my mind, is when I was younger, I used to laugh so hard that I would pee myself, right? And so I was down at the end of the street with some neighbors who were like older than me, who I looked up to, and I laughed too hard and I peed myself, and they saw it and they're like, oh my gosh, McPee Master 3000 or something like that, and they gave me this name, and I was like so embarrassed and ashamed. And for a long time after that, I recognized that I didn't want to laugh too much. I didn't want to be too self-expressed. I didn't want to be too to enjoying myself too much, because that could lead to pain. It could lead to me being made fun of. And so that started showing up in, when I got into, partying and stuff and drinking when I was in my college years. And that was like, well, I'm doing things that I enjoy, but I know that there's like consequence. I know that there's pain with it. Screw it, And I was just kind of like willing to put up with that belief and engage further in that belief. So it's just like, it's crazy how we can make up these stories that carry with us for the rest of our lives until we distinguish it, until we choose something else.
Yeah, yeah. So is that something that you consciously chose?
So like which one? What specifically?
About feeling like you could laugh?
Oh, yeah. Well, I discovered
yourself?
I discovered it when I've been doing a lot of work on my past and stuff for years. So I saw it and I was like, wait a second, like I can be self-expressed. I can be this fun, loving little kid. Part of me didn't want to bring out the little kid because I felt like too vulnerable. I felt like he would get hurt, kind of thing. So I made the choice that I would laugh more. I made the choice that I would be more joyous. I made the choice that I would bring my little kid out more, and he's totally showed up in big ways in all areas in my life. It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I can totally see it now.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's awesome. It's
really infectious.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Linda. And there's always more work to do. There's always deeper levels. There's always things to clear up. So for anyone listening right now, like, know that you're still on your journey, just like I am, just like Linda is, just like everyone is. So wherever you're at, don't compare to other people. Rather, choose to take another step in the right direction today. Rather, choose to get the help and the resources and the connections you need. Tap into Linda, ask her the questions. She mentioned some great questions on here. When did I start to hide? Where did I start to hide? What doesn't feel safe about being seen and heard? Those are amazing questions. Ask yourself those questions. Take that time to reflect and contemplate. And if you're having challenges, or you want more questions, or you want more clarity, and you want to grow even faster, then reach out to people like Linda, like myself, like anyone who you see as a resource to help you get to where you want to go, because it's so important. Speaking of 0 to 60, if you want to go from 0 to 60, wherever you're at, to your goal, start reaching out to more people, start asking for more help. And that's another thing that probably comes up for a lot of people when did I start to hide? It's risky to be too bright. What doesn't feel safe? A lot of people don't ask for help because they're experiencing those kinds of emotions and thoughts.
Yeah. It's also kind of interesting that some people know exactly what keeps them back. I've had a couple of people say, I know it was Sister Margaret in Catholic school who walked around with her ruler, and I was terrified. And also my mother, who was very narcissistic, and I couldn't get a word in edgewise, but I don't know how to get rid of it. So I think that's another aspect that you have to address, is once you know it, what tools do you have to clear it away? And I know, Chris, that you've talked about the Ho'oponopono forgiveness exercise. I think that's a fabulous one.
Yes.
If somebody knows EFT, emotional freedom technique, or tapping, that's another great one. Hypnosis could be another one, or energy healing, or anything that you feel drawn to that is a tool that you have already, or that somebody can help you with. Utilize it, because you want to. I don't see this as like a single key, like you put one key in the door and it opens. It's more like a door that has several different bolts on it, and you have to open each one. And because we as human beings are so holistic, we need to come at our transformation in a holistic way, through our body, through our mind, our emotions, and spiritually.
That's a great point. How can we best approach that? Like, how do we know if we're approaching holistically rather than, trying to segment and compartmentalize a problem or a challenge or something that's not working, and not be as resourceful or holistic as we possibly could be?
Well, it is a journey. So you'll start someplace. And if it hasn't gone away or hasn't transformed, then you'll try something else. I mean, that's the truth of our life. Life is process. Yeah. But I really feel like it's important to have a physical component. So physical can be imagined in your mind, but I also feel like in your body, like when I do some kind of clearing, I like to physically clear out. So like even something with your arms, like brushing away or releasing is life changing. I mean, we have these bodies. So I'm a dancer, so I always think,
yes.
but we have these bodies that we hardly utilize. I mean, we use them functionally to do the job. We might do some fitness, to get some exercise. But in terms of creating new neural pathways, our bodies have so much to offer.
Yeah.
So if you like dancing, I think that's a fabulous thing to do. You can put on music that evokes forgiveness. And dance the forgiveness, or dance opening your heart, something that's very poignant, or put on something pounding and really powerful and get it all out, or do the release and shake it out, or go crazy, or, because anything that you do in your body is going to create new pathways in the nervous system.
Yeah.
So use your body in some way.
Yeah, I started dancing Zumba and hip hop dancing about, 3 or 4 years ago. And I started it because I knew I wanted to grow. I wanted to grow in my mind. And I also knew that there was a correlation to when I get outside of my comfort zone in my body and have my body learn new patterns, my mind will be more receptive to assimilate information, will be more effective at processing information. Because as we're training our body to be adaptive, our mind also reflects that and becomes adaptive itself. So the more we challenge our body, the more our mind is ready for that challenge as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's awesome. And get out there, try new things. That's a big thing as well. Also, what were you going to say?
But I think, like you're talking about, how do you be holistic? I think if you include how to be holistic, if you include something physical, if you include like a forgiveness that gets you, I don't know, would you call that spiritual? Would you call that emotional? It's probably both.
Yeah, both.
If you do some kind of journaling or talking with people, that kind of helps with your mental processing. We need to include some mental processing because we do that.
Right.
And that's satisfying. Or as I said, some energy healing, or I think if you just combine 2 or 3 different modalities, you'll be really well helped.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said earlier, if you still have the challenge, keep going.
That's right.
Try something else.
That's right.
That's awesome. Okay. So Linda, I want to start like bringing it home for our audience in terms of the biggest lessons, the biggest wisdom around being that person in front of the stage that they know is within them. The person at the front of the stage, in front of the camera, that they know is within them. What do they need to know? What do they need to take action on to really tap into that greatest possible self performer, that greatest possible self speaker, that greatest possible self interviewer, entertainer, educator, whatever it might be? What do they need to know?
I think it's important to have a vision for yourself. Like, how do you want to feel? How do you want to express yourself? What does it even look like?
Yeah.
And to begin to grow into that, allow yourself to experiment and explore and experience those things. So if you want to feel more confident, of course, I'm not going to go into what we already talked about, but what does confidence even feel like in your body? Where do you already feel confidence? Can you bring a little more confidence into your conversations? When you're talking on the phone, when you're sitting at a table with friends, when you're walking down the street, even into the grocery store, can you bring a little bit more of that feeling? Practice that. No one's going to know what you're doing. Just like stand with a little bit more sturdiness, or stride a little bit stronger. Put it into your body and experience that. If you want to be a little more expressive, play with that. When you're in a group of people, just see what it's like to turn the notch up 5 degrees. But if you know where you're going, you know you want to feel more relaxed. Okay, that maybe it's relaxed. What does it feel like to be more relaxed? Can you track, like just in this minute, if you're listening to this right now, track inside your body and notice where you're holding tension and invite it to release. And just feel your body kind of enjoying this feeling of relaxation.
Amen. Amen. Linda, gold, gold, gold. I love it. So how can our audience take that next step with you, and what do we want them to do next?
I have a guided visualization for speaking confidence that I'd love to give to you all. And you can get it at lindaugelow.com/speaking confidence. Okay. And this is the visualization that I suggest, or this type of visualization that I suggest that you use before you speak. And it's something you can listen to multiple times, like daily before you. As soon as you know you've got a gig, start listening.
Yes.
And that will really help you. And even just listening to it will give you ideas of how you want to think about how you want to feel.
Wow. Beautiful. Beautiful. And then, Linda, what will we be seeing you do in the coming years? What kind of big things are you up to? Tell us more about those.
Well, I'm in the process of writing a book about this process. Yep. And I expect that to be out in the first half of next year.
Awesome. Very exciting. Very exciting. Yeah. And then what are you doing around dance these days? Like, tell us more about that, those plans, those dreams that you're still creating and working on.
Yeah, well, I do bring in some movement to my coaching process. So, people work with me privately. I also do live workshops. That's another thing that I will be creating in the next 6 months is a live retreat weekend where you go from fear to feeling fabulous. And we take you through the whole process. And that will, of course, have dance into it. I do have something I'm starting to put up on YouTube. A couple of years ago, I created Dance Your Biz Manifestation. I think of it more as Dancify Your Biz now.
Yeah.
Where I take one of the qualities, or many of the qualities, I think it was 21 that I picked, 21 different qualities that we need as entrepreneurs, like creativity and resilience and leadership and forgiveness. And I dance them, and I invite people to explore that through dance and music. So that's going up on YouTube now. And I lead something locally in my town just because I need it. But so if anyone lives in Massachusetts, in the Boston area, you can hit me up. I actually do not advertise it.
Wow.
It's part of my, so this is probably a place where I need to grow. Because I'm still in this place of, I don't want to monetize my dance still. I haven't gotten to a place where I just want it to be for me and for whoever, serendipitously comes across it. Yeah, it's funny. So, I have my growing edges.
Oh my gosh. Well, I love it, Linda, and I'm excited to hear how you grow through this and how you start sharing it even more powerfully with people, and you have people who see it and they're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Linda, thank you for letting me know about this. Thank you for cluing me in. Thank you for keeping me in the loop, because that is, that's marketing. Marketing is just education for people to know that there's solutions, there's answers out there for them. And I totally get where you're coming from as well. So I'm super excited for you to fulfill on that dream and keep growing that. I'm also excited for you to finish your book. I'm excited for you to put on these live events. And I'm excited for you to get even more transformation clients and helping them with their speaking, getting their message out to the world. Because that's one of my biggest passions, is helping people be expressed, helping people get clarity on their message, help people, get that out to the world. And I love doing it through this 12-hour marathon. So everyone who's listening, definitely take action. Stay connected with Linda. Go get that meditation. Keep watching her and all the breakthroughs that happen for everyone around her, and stepping into our power, our confidence, our just fullness of life because that's who you are, Linda. I love the spirituality behind you. I feel it resonating, emanating, all that good stuff. So keep it up. Keep up the great work and playing and having fun and doing everything that you're doing.
Thank you, Chris. You're awesome.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Linda. We'll see you soon, okay?
Take care.